Welcome to Syntax. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Front End Happy Hour podcast.
Welcome to this week's JS Party.
Live from Shipshape Studios, this is Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot, with your hosts, RobbieTheWagner and me, Charles William Carpenter III.
That's right, Charles. We drink whiskey and talk about web development. I mean, it's all in the name. It's not that deep.
This is Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot. Do not adjust your set.
Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot is brought to you by... What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot with your hosts, RobbieTheWagner and Charles William Carpenter III.
Si, Carlo. Something like that. Carlo.
Yeah, I guess that would be the Italian equivalent.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I should have figured that out first. Alas, here we are. Allora. Anyway, something about your hosts and no guests, or guests and hosts. I am Carlo, your Italian sub-host now. Just a fun fact for everyone. I am overseas in Italy, and we are trying to find out how these podcasts go when we separate ourselves even further.
Yeah, we're going to be doing mostly Whatnot today. We don't even have the same whiskeys, but that's okay. We're just going to hang out. We're going to talk about Italy and a little bit of tech. I just had a quick tech thing from a blog post I did, but we'll start with whiskey. We're not going to talk a ton about it, but we can just say what each of us have. I have one of my tried and true favorites, if this will show. Here we go.
The old Forrester.
Old Forrester 1920.
Oh, yes. There you go. That's a jam.
Always good.
There's nothing to be ashamed about there. Highly recommended, usually in the $60 range. Pretty delicious. The 1910 is also fairly good, too. And a mass of selections in Como, Italy. I mean, I'm sure there are more if you can dig a little deeper, but I have a family.
You didn't go to George's house? I bet he has a lot in his collection.
Wayne, he's probably a Scotch drinker or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
You know, he's so separated from Kentucky at this point. So I'm just having some Bushmills, pretty much your normal Bushmills. I don't know what the age would be. There's no age statement, of course, but a bunch of import labels and everything else. It is a 80 proof, 40%. There we are. I haven't even had it yet, although I have opened it.
So is this an American?
It is not. It's an Irish whiskey, actually. So there was a couple of American. What's funny is that this was 18 euros, basically. There was a few Scotch options. I just wasn't really feeling up to that. And there were some bourbon options, but some really, not great things. There was a Jim Beam, white label. There was some flavored Jack Daniels and some other gross stuff that actually was more expensive than this. So I just kind of... Nah, not for my euro, not for my socialist dollar.
Yeah. I was just curious because we were talking before I hit record that at least parts of the label are in Italian, and I was curious about if you're importing an American whiskey or whatever, it probably wouldn't have anything in Italian. I wouldn't think.
I don't know. I think the importers do some of that, where they might have their own labeling they'll put on at that point, because it says drink responsibly.
Brand, they might.
Yeah, drink responsibly, bevi responsabilmente. Yeah, Italian's bad enough as it is, but there's a little bit of info on there. But yeah, I think they probably, because nothing else is Italian on there, and then there's some kind of tax label over the lid. Aside from that, I'd say not much to it. Let's have a taste. It smells like, those, before, you have your, say when you're a little kid or growing up, whatever, and you get a Vicks cough thing, because those work really well. And then, but there's always some uncle or grandparent or whatever else that gives you the stuff that works when they were little. And it has a slight, and it's orange, maybe honey-ish. That's what it smells like to me.
Interesting.
It smells like an old cough drop.
We've done this 1921 on the show at some point, but a note that I probably don't think I mentioned last time we tried it, I just tasted it and I got notes of, I don't even know what you call them. Are they pixie sticks? The things with the powdered.
Does that often break your voice? Pixie sticks?
Yeah, I don't know.
I believe so, yeah. So they're little sticks with powder and you pour them in your mouth or whatever.
Or give or take. I forget how long they are, but
depends on if you're talking to your wife or not.
Yeah. Yeah, but I got notes of that somehow, like powdered
Yeah.
or like Fun Dip, like that powdered candy
Oh, interesting.
flavor.
Huh. That makes me want to circle back and have that in my mind because I loved those things as a kid. I would just like crush them. They were so messy and kind of useless. But
Oh yeah, I remember getting like 10 in a group and just ripping all the tops off and like just eat them all.
there was the other candy too that was like a little packet of powder like that. And then you had this like dipstick that
Yeah,
was
Fun
like,
Dip.
yeah, Fun Dip. There you go. And you would just like dip into that. That was another kind of fun one too. But
Yeah, those sticks tasted gross though.
yeah, they were
Definitely
basically
just eating the powder.
it was like, you can eat this, but you probably don't want to.
Yeah.
So the Bushmills has a very like lemony flavor to it though. So kind of along the lines of, and then it gets kind of a burn, gets a little harsher on the other side, especially for an 80 proof. So I'm quite surprised there, but not bad. I would say, I'm not rating it obviously, but it's like, it's okay. The fact that it was like less than 20 euros, less than, probably like $20 speaks to, its quality to a degree. Not terrible. I would put it in the middle of the road. I could have done worse.
All right. Yeah, we could do an official try of it another time and I'll rate it, but
Exactly. We need to get on the same level. I will affect you with this like strained. I'll send you a bag of these old throat candies
right.
that don't really do anything, and you have to have like 8 of them. And they're like, it tastes like medicine. Why don't I feel better? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that tended to be a thing, I guess, like before there was so much chemically medicine. I was actually watching the Food That Built America, and they were talking about Dr. Pepper and how that was made in a drugstore and stuff, and how they would just like Coca-Cola's original formula was cocaine and heroin and like flavor.
Yeah.
So of course people loved it.
Yeah.
But-
because it was addictive.
Yeah.
It was very useful
was
as
just-
a energy booster.
Yeah, it was like you took all these flavors and just put hard drugs in them, which I guess you kind of had the same thing, but like without as much hard drugs in like those kind of not that medicinal before you got the like modern science-based drugs.
Right. I mean, bear in mind though too, like the quantities of cocaine wasn't necessarily like hitting up 2 lines. Like it was,
But I'm sure
small
it affects
amounts.
your brain to
For
be
sure.
addicted to
yeah,
it though.
Yeah. The way that you would like have light bits of, caffeine or whatever, and something like it would have been like a light amount giving you something. I don't know what heroin would have done for you, but opium used to be a normal drug used for medicinal purposes, mental health things, and some other stuff too. It gets abused like anything else, Then it just becomes a poster child for a problem. I think like meth is probably like a drug that never had any like real purpose, right? Like cocaine was used, I think, in surgeries
well, meth
or
is
something.
kind of a modern, like you had to have some other drugs first that you made it out of, like Sudafed or something.
Right. So it was like a way to like, I can make my thing that ruins my life, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. LSD was a truth serum created by the CIA, I think, or something like that.
Is that the one that people microdose and say it makes them like
Yes.
better?
Yeah. Yeah. Opens up their neural pathways and makes them more productive and better critical thinkers. I don't know. I mean, it's an
I need to
interesting
get me some of
theory.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm intrigued, but I've like never had the risk factor for it. Like, right. Like I'm I'm co-working somewhere. I can't really like freak the fuck out because of a bad experiment, or like kids, you can't talk to daddy because he thinks you're trying to eat him. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess that sounds like a funny story, but
Yeah, you have to do it supervised with like someone who can stop anything bad from happening.
Right. Microdose is supposed to like not put you in that quite, you just see things a little different, but you don't necessarily like see things. I don't know. I read a New York Times article years ago, so I'm basically an expert.
Yeah. I didn't read the article, so.
Right. You just heard this from somebody, San Francisco adjacent or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I've occasionally read a few things. I just don't do a ton of reading.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do some writing. I
Yes,
wrote a blog post. I guess by the time people hear this, it will have been several weeks or a month or more since it was written. But I encountered this weird problem. So we're working on StarPod, which is like supposed to be easy podcast website. So you give it like your RSS feed, a little bit of info, like are you on, what's your Apple link, what's your host name, stuff like that. Like very minimal, less than like 50 lines of stuff to configure it, and it just all works. But one of the things in the design is it's very gradient based. So there's like a SVG icon, and when you hover it, it should go from being like gray to being a gradient color. And so I was like, oh, cool. Like, I've done lots of hover SVG things before. You change the stroke or the fill, like, should be fine, right? No, not a thing. Like CSS with gradients seems like, I don't know if they're working on this. I'm completely uneducated. We should ask Adam or Jay or somebody who knows CSS pretty well. But you would think when you hover stuff, there should be some kind of spec for a gradient that you want it to fill in instead of just solid colors. So this is what happened. I tried the naive approach. I was like, I'm going to do fill and stroke with a gradient. Not a thing. Didn't work. I found an article about like put the linear gradient in the SVG and then like turn it on with like as you hover. It's like, okay. So I did that and that worked, but then it just abruptly turns the color, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like
no, like transition.
You don't get the fade. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ultimate solution, and you can read the blog post at RobbieTheWagner.dev if you're interested, is to use CSS custom properties, which I had never used before. And I still honestly couldn't tell you exactly what they are or why you'd want to use them other than this. But the one thing they do give you is every value you set on them can be transitioned from one value to another. So you essentially use these custom properties and then pass them in as variables to your linear gradient function. And you say, when I start, they're both gray. And when I hover it, I want them to both turn like the start and stop color of my gradient. And then you get that on your SVG. You use like SVG mask on a div with that as the background color.
Yep.
And then it'll do that and it fades in. So we now have nice fading things. If you go to starpod.dev, you can check out what we're working on. And hopefully that's something, maybe by the time this airs, we'll have switched our website to it. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, okay. I know what's happening here. This is the Astro theme that you've been working on.
Yes.
So
it is Astro and Tailwind, both my happy places.
Right, exactly. This is how you like get professional fulfillment in life. Yes. Not that you don't appreciate a paycheck, but there are certain things that you're like, I want to do A, B, or C. And your job is like, we're going to go down like an L&M kind of path. So we're a little far away from what you're asking, but hey, here it is. So yeah, you definitely should I forgot you were working on that until you mentioned that. So it's funny that you had this very specific use case that wasn't required of your profession. But anyway,
yeah,
well, it sounds cool. It does kind of make me think of one topic that I saw a little bit about online, and I was thinking about some better for us to talk about than argue about on Twitter out of context, is like the era of high...
The Taylor Swift tour?
Yes, that actually. And I'll tell you about how Taylor Swift ruined my day the other day, but inadvertently, but she's still to blame. So 10, 15 years ago, when you were working on the front end, while you might have some logic here and there, obviously we were bringing jQuery in, we were doing all these other things, but we were also like masters of interface creation, like something like that. You kind of would know a bunch of, I have this CSS toolbox. I know all these things about like semantic HTML, and I know things about accessibility. I know about metadata for someday, machine scraping, but in the very short term, we have services that take in these things and like, in a news organization and all of that. And it's like, in a time where like we fight over fucking frameworks for a web app, like I think there's so much nuance that is missed. And obviously I think that's why like folks like Jay and Argyle and Una, whatever, like when we see Chris Coy or whatever, when we see them like be very detail oriented in the craft of display, which obviously is like a simple way to kind of put it, we're all fucking wowed by that now because none of us get to play in that playground in any sort of regular basis. Like we're always on someone else's timetable. Like, yeah, that's kind of a shame, I guess. That's kind of where I was going with it. Is like there is so much of like that art that is like, because for a while we got browbeaten by engineers who are like, you don't do anything important, like business logic and tables back here, and then now we've shifted that, but then we've lost so much.
Yeah, I think it's a twofold problem. One is CSS has grown so much, it's impossible to know it. Like, you can do fucking sine and cosine and stuff in CSS now.
Math. Yep.
Yeah. So, like, it's just become, like, you used to be able to know those couple little tricks and be like, ooh, look at me, I know these tricks and whatever. And now it's, like, so huge. There's no way you could learn it all, so people don't try. They're just like, I'm sticking with my framework or whatever. Yeah, like, little things. Because I don't do a ton of CSS because, well, couple of reasons. One, I don't love it to begin with. But then two, we don't use Tailwind at work. So I don't ever change any styles.
So you didn't win?
Like,
I thought you were making it. I thought you had like a PR or something.
I think it'll happen, but it'll be years. Like, there's so much other stuff we have to do. So anyway, I had to truncate some text, right? Like an ellipsis on the end in a flex container. Try it. The flex container will always bust out of the thing because it's flex. It's like, I'm flexing. So you like, okay, well, actually, it's a flex container, but it also has like another element in it because it's easier if it's just the text. Yeah. But there was an image in front of it, which was throwing everything off. Like, there was a CSS tricks post about it that was like, here's how you do it. You just give it like a min width 0 and that'll fix that weird problem. Nope. But there was like a
probably an old article
thing. It was like width 0 and min width 100% on like a bunch of the elements down the chain. I couldn't tell you exactly why or where, but like some combination of that made it work. And like stuff like that. One, why don't more people know that? Or like, why couldn't I find a better article about it? And two, why do we even need that? Why can't the browser be like, you know what? This flex container, which ends at it's several like parents up, but there's a definitive end. So why won't it just stop at that and then truncate it? Like, there should be an option for if you're going to overflow anywhere up the chain, just truncate it. But that's not a thing. So
no, it's not a thing. And then you got to figure out a hack around it or programmatically handle it, which would also be super annoying.
Yeah. I mean, there's JavaScript libraries for it because it's such a hard problem.
Yeah. But on the plus side, well, that's, sort of been the hammer throughout time. And then it's taken over, which JavaScript can do this for you. But, as the browser APIs have improved and CSS has become better, obviously you have an edge case there. It's not all a panacea. And you know what? At least you didn't have to try it out on IE8. So there's
That's true. That is true.
Nobody tests on Safari. So
yeah. Actually, I haven't tested it on Safari. Now I'm worried.
Because you have to. Is that a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, we have to support Safari.
Nice. Well, say that and just desktop Safari, not Safari. Or do you have to support both?
It's technically both, but like, we're not very responsive for mobile. Like, it's a really bad experience on mobile, but you could use it if you wanted. So I think if you ask the designers, they would say, yeah, you should check both. But, it's not super important.
Nobody's complaining. So like, they're like, fine. Oh, yeah. I saw that Wondery signed Armchair Expert, the Dax Shepard.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I don't keep up to date with everything they're doing.
No, I don't.
Like, they have
Pod
these
News.
big podcasts, and I'm like, ooh,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, no, just because Pod News had something about it. Like one of those like random ones that we keep track of, hoping to ever be featured in at some time. But
yes, when we're acquired for billions of dollars, it will be mentioned.
Are you assuming Syntax got billions? Because I'm going to say that's probably high.
No, but I'm assuming things that Wondery acquires probably make 50 million plus.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, Armchair Expert was a pretty popular and famous, or is. He's not dead, right? Yeah. No. Yeah. They're like,
or I guess not acquired, but they sign like an exclusive agreement for
exactly
10 years or whatever.
Yeah. And then you can do subscriptions and stuff to get the episodes early or something else, Yeah. I have listened to a couple of that one, but it really highly depends on who the guest is for me.
Do they always have a guest?
The only ones I've listened to, yes. So I don't know, but the only ones I've listened to. So just goes to tell you.
Yeah, I don't really listen to a ton of podcasts. I did start listening to a Wondery podcast. I think it's called Red Handed. It's like two British ladies telling you about crimes and things that have happened and how people got caught or like what happened basically. So it's pretty cool. I like true crime and like.
So you're a crime junkie person or no?
Yeah. Every show I watch is like either crime based or like suspense or like thriller style. Like,
Is this to get ahead of your wife? Because I'm always saying like that, Sarah listens to a ton of those, so she definitely knows how to kill me and get away with it. And then like maybe you're like, well, I also know how to be killed and you would get away with it. So I know what to avoid.
well,
Be
yeah, I don't
informed
think,
for your own safety.
yeah, I don't think Caitlin listens to them, but I just like stuff like that. It's not all exactly the same genre, I guess. I'm watching The Stranger right now. I don't know if you've seen that show.
The Stranger?
Mm-hmm.
No.
What?
I was gonna make a I was gonna make a crass joke about The Stranger. Did you ever have that like stupid teenage joke about The Stranger?
Yes, I'm aware of what
Okay.
you're referring.
All right.
Yes.
So I won't expand. Anyone can ask me offline. Anyway, no, I'm not familiar with that. So
Yeah, but it's pretty good. It's like this stranger comes up and like drops secrets on people and like blows up their lives and stuff. Like that kind of show where it's like, mystery and suspense, I guess.
oh, very nice. Suspense.
Yeah.
Suspense. What syntax shirt do you have on?
Just the pocket one, the logo.
It has nothing on the back.
I don't think so.
Did you see
they
did
have new ones?
Yeah, they did another
like
release.
NASCAR look or whatever.
Yeah, which I was very tempted to get, but like I have a lot of black T-shirts, so it's like kind of the only downside. So I was like,
I don't love these T-shirts either. They're like very, what's the word? Like they're a nice brand, I think.
yeah,
But they're just not very soft. They're like, they feel like an old T-shirt, and that's, I think, on purpose.
yeah,
For like the brand vibe they were going for,
Yeah.
but it's not my comfiest shirt. So
I see. Yeah, I don't know. I think that tracks with the Webmaster one I have, and it's kind of like a little acid washed and stuff, so it has that sort of 90s vibe to it. But
yeah. So if
don't
you
know.
would like a comfy shirt, head to whiskey.fund. Get some nice merch that's maybe less quality printed, but the shirt is more comfy.
yeah, this is an obsession of Robbie's. He has with like getting shirts that are super comfy, because that comfort matters more than cool. If you've ever seen him in person, you would know this is true.
Yeah.
But,
I'm wearing Vuori pants right now.
Oh,
Yeah. I think that could be a potential thing. Like if AI takes my job in like, very little time, I could maybe be a screen printer. I want to dabble in like some kind of handmade goods that are like, yes, a robot can print that, but like there still is some human element to
yeah.
setting up the machines. And it's like doing that, making some whiskey, making like, I don't really love like brewing beer, but a lot of people like beer, so maybe I could.
Maybe you could brew mead or like
Oh, there you
cider
go.
or something else. Yeah. So
Yeah, one of my friends does mead, so maybe I can learn from him.
yeah. Do you have space in your latest abode for like,
I could find
workshops and
space.
craftiness? Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I bought a T-shirt in Como actually. So the football team here, soccer team, for most of us. And this is like you can't see it if you're listening. Sorry. So it's like Sem
You can barely
Kumach.
see it if there's like a weird glare on the top. What does it say?
Well, it's also fading away. So it's kind of like
is it?
the thing.
That's on purpose.
Yeah, it's on purpose because this would be the sun coming down, and this is the stadium here, and so this is
Oh,
the
I
mountains
see.
behind. Yeah,
So it's like a
Sem
picture and then they
Kumach.
cut words out of it.
Yeah. So it's masking, like you were saying. So it would be like an
you
SVG
go.
mask. So
SVG mask right in real life.
Yeah, the club here was recently promoted to Serie A, which is the top level in Italian football. And this is, I think, like dialect for "We Are Como," and that was kind of cool. But it's like, the kids these days, like this is like a medium shirt. It's like super baggy. I guess that's like that style is coming back.
Yeah, it's Gen Z is doing a lot of interesting things.
Looks a lot like shit I wore in like 8th grade, but it's
Yeah.
fine, whatever.
Yeah, it's back to like the mom jeans style, which
Yeah,
we
these-
talked about before. Was like became mom jeans because people that were moms, that was in style when they bought all their jeans, and then it was like.
And then they just
So it's
kept
not
those
like
jeans.
you just become a mom and you're like, you know what? I need to buy these jeans.
I need some jeans with a higher waist. No, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I read something. So I don't usually read like full articles, but I'll read like a synopsis of like a newsletter that tells me about a lot of different things or something. And they were talking about how Gen Z basically doesn't want to work at all. Like they expect to make infinite money for no work, like day one on the job. Like promote me to CEO today and just give me all the money, and I'm also not going to do any work.
Yeah,
And like everyone that has to work with them that isn't Gen Z is like, oh my God, I hate all of these people.
I mean, I've heard some whispers of this, but I also feel like every generation tends to complain about the other ones below them. Like,
That's
you
true,
don't know what
'cause
I
it's
had
different.
to deal with. Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
different. And that accelerant of difference has changed quite a bit. So I've seen some examples of what feel like expectation, but then I don't know, like they've gone through a different world up until this point, right? Like even,
Yeah.
you know, when
Everything
you-
is so instant for them. Like they
Yeah,
grew up
exactly.
starting with like TikTok as their like first social media.
yeah,
Not like later on. And it's like, okay, everything is within 20 seconds and it just happens for me right now. I don't have to
like,
wait for anything.
Basically, the kind of culture that tons of us embraced during COVID, where we were like, okay, can't really leave for anything, or don't want to leave for anything, or whatever else. And it's sort of like everything is accessible to me. I can watch like 80% of the movies I want to see, and I can order all the food, and I can order my groceries, and I can, I can Amazon everything I need like instantaneously. So like context is completely different. So, I just try to be a little bit more sympathetic around the whole, okay, maybe you got a little taste of reality and it wasn't what you were, it wasn't what you were raised to believe or what you'd experienced all the way up until that point. Who knows, So, yeah. They don't want to work.
Fair.
I don't want to work. You don't want to work. What are you talking about?
That's
Like,
true.
given.
Well, no, I think that's not true, actually. I think everyone wants to work, just you don't want to do the work that you're paid to do, per se. You want to have enough money to unlock the potential to work on what you would prefer versus just what your company forces you to do.
Yeah. I'd say, okay, I want to do lots of things. I don't necessarily want to do all the things I have to do in order to meet my responsibilities and things like that. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Like given infinite money, I would travel a ton.
Yeah,
And
sure.
then, but in downtime, I would probably, I guess I wouldn't even work. I would probably just play a ton of Diablo because that's like a job. I don't know.
I would travel a lot and I would have I would play games in between, like that would be awesome. I'd be going to do the things and experiencing the world I want. I wouldn't be locked in a fucking basement. I would just be like, cool. Well, while I'm here, I got a 10-hour flight. I'm going to play FIFA for 6 hours. So I don't know. Yeah. It's just funny because I've like seen that argument, like millennials are the worst. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, now Gen Y is blah, 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 shit. Now it's Gen Z and, everybody. And then all
maybe
of us.
it's just people of a certain age.
Yeah.
Like when they're going into the job market, like I think your brain isn't fully developed till you're like 24 or something.
Yeah.
So they're probably just not at that point yet. They can't deal with real life. So it's like, it seems like they're whiny, but it's really just they haven't fully matured yet.
I think there's a big glut of folks though too, and it started happening a while ago. It wasn't quite a problem for Gen X. I don't know how much millennial. I think it started happening in the tail end millennials, where like just having a degree wasn't good enough to get a better job. Right? You would be like, oh, okay, I've got to go work some manual labor thing or fast food or be a server or like whatever, unless I get a college degree, and then I get a professional job. And it was just as simple as that. Didn't really matter. Go get a degree, prove you can finish that thing. Now you get an opportunity. Obviously, if you specialize.
So saturated that like everyone had a degree. So then everyone needed a master's degree.
Yeah.
And then it became people don't care about the degrees anymore because everyone has like insane amounts of degrees to the point where like someone will have like a PhD and want to be hired for a thing. And they're like, you have too much experience. We can't hire you for this. Like we can't pay you that much.
Yeah.
And like it was actually detrimental to a lot of people.
Right.
So I think really the way we've kind of pivoted back, and I think this will be true going forward, is 4 years of school isn't necessarily the way to go. You need like pick a thing you want to do. Maybe that's 2 years, maybe that's less, maybe it's an apprenticeship, like whatever.
Yeah.
Just pick a trade and learn that instead of just like learning for learning's sake to have a piece of paper.
And also, like, eliminate the, like, flawed ideology that whatever you choose at 18, you have to do for the rest of your life. Like, what you do have to do is figure out how to sustain life on your own. And if you're not like, I want to be a doctor or an architect or whatever at this point, you're not really sure, totally fine. But how are you going to navigate those waters? Like, are you going to go and start at the bottom and become, a cook somewhere? Or are you going to be a garbage man? Oh, no, you can make some money being an electrician. There's a trade school. Go down that path. Doesn't have to be forever, but it does give you an opportunity to, like, pay the bills and figure that out. Oh, okay, I've been doing this for 10 years. Not quite for me. But I didn't go buy a lifted truck and, whatever all these responsibilities. I can manage a transition. Let's do that. Yeah. Now I know I want to be a lawyer. Fucking A, go down that path, Yeah,
I think that's true.
This just in, whiskey.fund is now open for all your merch needs.
That's right, Robbie. We're hearing reports of hats, sweaters, and t-shirts, as well as a link to join our Discord server.
What's a Discord server?
Just read the prompter, man.
Hit subscribe, leave us a review on your favorite podcast app, and tell your friends about our broadcast.
It really does help us reach more people and keeps the show growing.
All right, back to your regularly scheduled programming.
I think my dream job is probably owning a little shop in Italy that's open 1 hour a day, because that's how they work.
Yeah.
Like, you go in and you have your espresso and your pastries or whatever in the morning, and then you like open your shop, work for a couple of minutes, then you have a 4-hour lunch, then you come back, work for a couple of minutes, and you're done for the day.
Right. And you have the shop, and you can just be like, great, I'm going to take the best coffee home with me or whatever. Yeah, it's funny because we are in like more of like a little village, like a small town, 20 minutes outside of Como, and it does feel like this. Like there's town to town, but there's a lot of like space in between. There's a lot of mowing to be done if you want here. I know you love that, and there's
I mowed for an hour and a half yesterday. I don't love that.
Yeah. There's, a bunch of pizza joints, although there's a bunch of pizza and kebab places now. It's like a combination shop. They have kebabs.
In one shop.
Yeah, in one shop. You can get like your pizzas, you can get kebabs, you can get a kebab pizza. It's very interesting.
I was just going to ask if you could get kebabs on
You can. Yeah, you can. Which I had experienced in England before, but that was a little more obvious. And then like here, it's like, oh, okay, you can get one of these pizzas with kebab on it.
I find that interesting, like the whole cuisine thing, because Italy has, and maybe not like where you are or like in smaller villages or whatever, but in the bigger cities, they're pretty like focused on, we're going to have the exact same food at every restaurant, except for like, fancier places, like if you go to a Michelin star place or place with a tasting menu or whatever, like, but then otherwise it's like same food everywhere. But you're very close to like everything on the Mediterranean has a lot of diverse food. So you would think there would be more crossover like that, but there's like, nope, we make this.
No, yeah, I was going to say, it is like that kind of everywhere. And while there is other cultural foods, it is mostly either like, yes, there's Lebanese food because we have a bunch of Lebanese people who live here, and so they come and eat there. But for Italians, I've had this conversation a few times with friends, and it is like an interesting thing because we, we'll be like, what do we want to have for dinner? What kind of food do we want to have? Oh, we're having tacos tonight, whatever else. They don't really think that way. They're just like...
It's like it will be Italian food.
Yeah, and they don't say, we're having Italian tonight, we're having food, and they think of it in that context, in that menu. Is it pizza? Is it pasta? Is it like a big meal and we're having multiple courses? Like,
so that's an American... Is it an American thing to like operate the other way? Or is it... I don't know. Are there other countries where people like in Germany or like the UK, are they like, what kind of cuisine do I want? Or are they just like, whatever?
So... I think it's very much an us thing, but there are like in-betweens, like in Spain when we'd be like, oh, let's order. I was staying with friends there, Spanish people, and we were like, let's order a pizza. And they were telling me different ones. And they were like, we have this one with wet tuna on it. That's not what they called it. But I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if you've been to Spain, but like tons of meals, you'll get like a side salad and then it'll have just what looks like is you didn't drain the tuna very well and you just put a scoop of that on there. And it's kind of wet. And they put that on the pizza. And like in England, you can get beans on your pizza, right? Like, so it's like sort of you can get different foods, but then they always like put in their little cultural blip. I don't know. And it's maybe because...
kind of ruin the experience.
Yeah, the States is such like a hodgepodge. So we kind of like... Yeah, this is pizza, this is taco, whatever. Never shall the two mix unless you go to Taco Bell, but that's a whole other whatever thing.
That could be for dinner tonight.
Mexican pizza. Yeah. Depending on how much 1920 you have. So, yeah, it is just kind of a funny thing, like food wise. Like, and I have like mostly had like pizza every day, pasta all the time, gelato a bunch of days. Like, it does ring true to a degree. And you're just like, that's the easier food to get. And it's pretty good. So, like, why not? Even if you go get mid pizza, it's still pretty good pizza. So,
yeah, I don't complain about that, except for like, and I'm sure you'll get to this point being there for like a month, that like several weeks into that, you're just like, God, I really need a taco. Like,
yeah.
Or something different, just a break from the same flavors every day. Because even if it's in different form factors, like pizza and pasta, and I guess you could do like a steak or like, depending on where you're at or like what, or if you're cooking at home, you can do whatever you want, obviously.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So bear in mind, that's what we are integrating into it. So like we are trying to say, it's like at home where we have dinners most of the time at home. Yes, we like go out here and there if we're like doing something. We're trying to just like, what would we do a normal day? And we're not trying to really engage in tourist activities or whatever else. Like,
yeah.
So we totally can
really
like,
embrace living there.
Yeah. And make other things and like, sure, enjoy what's here, but go to the grocery store. What is available? It is funny because you'll go to like a decent sized grocery store and it'll be normally you have like the pasta aisle, right? And they have your sauces and pasta and sauce and whatever else. And that's just like one aisle. Somehow they've stretched this out to like 5 aisles of things. Like, you know, you have all the pasta and then you have, oh man. I mean, I'm not unhappy. I think like this is great food and the food quality is so good and I just feel different. Like, you know, I eat a full plate
and everything.
Yeah. And I eat a full plate and a lot of times I would feel bloated and I just don't feel bloated. I don't feel like stuffed. And I think that is a nice difference and a nice feeling. But, you know, anyway, all that is to say is like, oh, I want tortillas. They will sometimes have those actually, but it'll be like shitty old El Paso or something of that nature. Yeah. But it's not impossible to go down that path. Even in this small town, there's one Mexican place, but we're afraid to try it. But I mean, it is available. Like there are some things.
You should
there.
Try it so that you can report.
I know. I can report back. I know. I think I might have to, but I'll probably have to do it alone. Yeah. There's also like some sushi places here, and there's a place called the Old.
Being good. There's some decent fresh fish.
Absolutely. So that's probably decent. And again, you know, a multicultural population. It's not just Italian people. So there's a few different ones, but what was the other that the Old Wild West looks hilarious. It's basically like what they think like typical American food is. I haven't been there yet. I want to go. You know, so it's like a big, like Wild West cowboy experience and over the top, like ridiculous things like burger like this or whatever. I've had one burger somewhere, an Italian burger. It was okay. And then I've had McDonald's once and the Big Mac was actually kind of good. I don't know, like because they have to use real meat, because they are using like fresher produce and stuff. I was like, this isn't bad.
Yeah. I imagine it costs more then. Or maybe with the conversion rate, like it's hard to really say, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a great question. It wasn't too bad. So I want to say a Happy Meal was like €4, give or take. I remember that. And that gets, you know, them a burger, some fries, applesauce, or like apples and a drink. So.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I don't remember what the Big Mac was. Yeah, it was actually pretty decent. Oh, you know, so we've gone twice, but I only eat there once. And 2 times we got food for the kids. So when I got the Big Mac, we were actually in Switzerland. So where I'm at now, in like 25 minutes, I can go to a town up in Switzerland. And we went up there to like check it out and go to a different restaurant and a whole bunch of things. Like you said, things are closed. It's still Italian culture up there. So we got stuck in a traffic jam and they closed at 3 and then opened back up at 7 for dinner service. So we missed that. And then we ended up like getting McDonald's just to get food for the kids. And we're like, fuck it. Let's just get something and be done with this.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. You have many Italian questions on here, so I don't know. how much I'm addressing.
They were just, yeah, I mean, they're not, we don't have to cover them. I was just putting random shit on here.
Well, I can easily say, so the obsession with bottled water is it's cheap. It's like 40 to 50 cents easily for a liter and a half.
Well, not at a restaurant though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Like,
you pay the premium there.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves. And like, yes, we're probably paying more overall for a meal in America because like everything's more expensive and you're paying the tip, which you're not doing most of the time there.
Right.
But
most places don't even give you a chance, which is interesting.
Yeah. The very touristy places do because they've caught on to the fact that they can rip you off for more money. But yeah.
For bad food.
Yeah. So it's like they come up and they're just like, do you want still or sparkling bottled water?
Yeah,
and
naturale or frizzante.
Yeah, if you want to be a bitch, you can be like, I want tap water.
Yeah.
But like, no one does that. I haven't witnessed anyone do it. So I'm just kind of like, it's kind of interesting because, the Romans like kind of invented clean drinking water. And it's always been good water for a long time, but they're obsessed with drinking bottled water. And I don't get it.
I don't know. I do know that it is safe to drink. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
I've read that before. But I don't really know anything about their sanitation system. But so the reason why they're into bottled water is they're into springs and the source because they want minerals. They want natural, like bottled at the source kind of stuff. And you're not going to get that through the sanitation system. Okay, so it's really all it is.
All like actual spring stuff. It's not like the American bullshit where they take tap water and filter it and sell it to you.
No. There's all these different brands because they're from different springs.
Okay.
And then apparently there's a whole like underground subset of springs that are thought to have different medicinal purposes. So if you're feeling this, you drink water from this one area and that will help you more. So yeah, they have a whole bunch of like hoopla behind it. But the fact that they also don't like rape you over it, like, oh, Perrier's $5 for 16 ounces. Like you yeah.
I mean, I make all of my money back at breakfast when a cappuccino and a croissant is like €1.
I know.
I'm like,
yeah.
like, okay, this would have been easily like $12 in America. So I'm cool with it.
And it's all fresh baked and like everywhere. Even when the coffee's just okay, it's still good. It's kind of like the pizza. It's like, but it's still good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why we insist on doing things poorly in America. I mean, I guess it's money based, but like if you just have that little like espresso percolator that everyone has in every house,
it's called a mocha.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm just educating our listener. Our listener is interested, and so
like that stuff you could put like if you have a decent coffee at all, especially if you fresh ground it, like it tastes amazing compared to anything you could have like from Starbucks or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, Starbucks is all about the flavors and all the additions, right? Like
that's true.
Like how many people do you know that actually go to Starbucks and just get like a black drip coffee or an espresso?
Not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So most people aren't like addicted to that. They're addicted to all the other aspect. It's like, I've got this walking dessert that's covered in a cup. Nobody knows. I don't know.
Yeah. The American way.
Yeah. You think I'm prospering. I'm actually getting fatter by the second. Just because they're like high calorie and everything. And if Starbucks is your favorite coffee and you have just the coffee, then good for you. But if you're doing all these other things to it, then you can kind of do anything. It's not hard to replicate
everyone's different.
Yourself.
Like there's probably people that have had a lot of good whiskey and have Jack Daniels and they're like, this is just what I like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
good
okay.
for them.
It just, it's not me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's not me. In some ways, I wish it was me because that'd be easy. That choice is easy. Great. I'm just doing the thing I like. I'm going to keep doing that.
I was listening to the episode with Michael from Prime Barrel. He was talking about, like how everyone should just like whatever whiskey they like and stuff. And yeah, he mentioned like your palate evolves too. So you like ryes if you started having a ton of bourbon and then you have some rye and you start gravitating towards that. Like I feel like it's similar with anything really. Like when you first have red wine, I feel like most people are like, this is not great. And then you have it a few times and you're like, actually, this is pretty good. Just because it's very harsh if you're not used to it. But once you start having it a lot, you get used to like the harshness goes away and you can appreciate all the other flavors.
Yeah, like your tongue and palate aren't sucker punched, and once you get past that a little bit, kind of get something else. It's funny that you say red wine
because I poured all of it all over my keyboard a little while ago. I don't know if you noticed.
No, I didn't, but that's good for you for keeping it together. Sounds like there's some duress.
Yeah, I was just kind of like,
I hope it wasn't your Kinesis super split crazy. I know you don't use that keyboard, but maybe you'll have to.
Yeah, no, it didn't get on the
also
keys.
don't
It was just on the the rest here, this keyboard here.
I see.
So
Okay.
it's like, it's pretty gross. I need to throw it away.
Yeah, that looks disgusting.
Yeah.
Anyone on YouTube should be. Maybe they'll send you a new keyboard. Anyone, basically, send him a keyboard because it's fucking sad.
I need to really invest in learning to type and use the keyboards that don't hurt my wrist.
Yeah.
Because I type with like these fingers. I don't use these because they're weak. So I'm not doing the right way to do it. Prime would be ashamed in me.
I'm ashamed of you a little bit, but just more so, I think, not just in general. Yeah, this is the travel keyboard, which isn't sexy or fun, but it is very
it's an Apple keyboard.
Yeah, it's small. The footprint is small. How small can I do what we're doing right now and make it effective, and then scale that up or whatever. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah, because my Kinesis 360 gaming one that just tense up, that one is my best one for being productive and having pretty comfortable wrists.
Yeah, I think that's the key because the other ones where they're the 360 where it's got it's concave and it's got everything's kind of in different spots. I think what you really want is just to be a little bit separate, but the normal layout, and then you can just type like normal.
I probably said the wrong one. The 360 is the one with the weird concave and all that fun stuff. Mine is a normal split keyboard, and you can tent it at different levels. It's a gaming one that they have, and it's just plug-in too. It's also not all Bluetoothy or whatever else. But
which honestly is the big reason I don't use. Well, also because I can't type fast, but the 360 is Bluetooth only.
Yeah.
And so I have this very first world problem, right? That I have this desktop and a laptop, and I want to be able to switch what's plugged in, all my plugged in peripherals with a push of a button, and you can't with that. So that's it's kind of a non-starter.
I thought you can't plug those. You can only plug them in for charging. You can't
it's just
plug them
for charging, I believe.
Uh-oh.
I haven't tested that theory, but I think it's just for charging.
Yeah, you just say it. You don't know. Well, yeah.
I do that a lot. I just take things and assume that I know, but yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So you said you were going to be staying somewhere else in a couple of days or something? Are you
Yes,
moving
we
in
move tomorrow
spots around the
morning
area?
to Lalio, and that is on the west bank of the lake, probably about 20 minutes up from downtown Como. So it's going to be closer to things in general.
So you're purposefully trying further away and closer to town?
Yeah, exactly. Just those two things to just kind of get a feel for it and see. Well, we tried here because we have friends that live in the town next to us. And so we thought okay, we'll get a feel for what it's like to be closer to them and what there is to do around there and everything else. It's all very nice. It's just kind of rural, less walkable, kind of rural.
Yeah, that makes sense. So did you get your, tiny manual car to drive around?
No, it's a GLC. Okay. So it's the Mercedes. Yeah,
there is a lot of Mercedes there too, I guess.
There is, yeah. And so it's a mid-size SUV. I just wanted to have something that was going to be enough. We didn't bring a ton of luggage, but it is for a month and it is for a family of 4.
Yeah.
Checked 3 bags, just trying to make the most of it as we can. So yeah, just for all of us to have a place to sit and the bags and everything to work. So did not get a tiny car because I don't think that's what we have. I guess
if you're in the country, it's a little different.
Yeah.
In the cities, they will not it's very hard to rent anything bigger than a Fiat 500.
Yeah,
because
depending on the city you're in too, especially as you go south and stuff, things can get real narrow and weird. Rome is tough for that. This is probably the biggest car that I've rented here, and it's not crazy. We went down to Milan for a couple of days, and I was even driving in the El Centro, the center of town and near Duomo and everything else. So, it was a little tight, but it wasn't crazy. Parking wasn't bad in a parking garage. Can't trust anybody on the street parking. Don't recommend.
No.
Yeah, that was totally fine. We're going to Naples next week, actually, and we'll be taking a
driving
train
there
out.
is interesting.
No, yeah, I have done that before, actually, but broken it up. But it's like an 8+ hour drive. Like we're gonna take the high speed train. You can do it in 4 hours.
That's insane to me because we were trying to get to Montalcino and then back to to Naples, I guess. I don't know. It was like it didn't seem that far. If you take the train from like Florence down, it's like so fast. And then if you drive, it's like double the time. And I'm like, how in the world? Like, I guess the train is just really fast, but
train's really fast, doesn't have to stop anywhere. There's tolls, there's whatever along the way. Like there's actually some nice highway or interstate or whatever they call it, but it does slow you down in parts and change and speeds change and whatever else. And the train's just...
Yeah, we drove from Florence down to Montalcino and then to Naples, so we experienced a lot of that. It was fun because my friend that was driving went through the toll thing and it like didn't take his money or something, and like he had to like talk to the lady, and he's just like, no Italian, like, trying to talk to her, and she was like this. I don't know. He eventually figured it out. I need to watch the video. Someone videoed him doing it for the lulz, but yeah. And then you get to Naples and like, there'll be a maybe 2-way street and there's like 70 cars parked on like each side somehow.
Oh yeah.
And it like triple parked, and you're like, how do these people do this? Like, it seems very stressful. I guess they're used to it because they live there, but
well, yeah, when you're in the South, it's a different driving strategy. So it's just something that I learned, that you have to assume that all of the like traffic directions are suggestions, and people are sort of taking that in mind, but they're also just kind of going. And you just have to like assume things are going to go fine.
Everyone is taking every opportunity. Like,
exactly.
If there's a person, they're going to walk out. If there's a car, they're going to drive in front of you every single time.
Totally. And if you just drive in that way, then it all just kind of works out. It's the beautiful chaos.
Yeah.
The South has that quite a bit. So it's much more challenging to drive there, for sure. How do you think the internet has fared for us here?
It's interesting because when we stayed in Venice, we had like 300 Mbps, like pretty good. And literally everywhere else was like non-existent.
Yeah.
And not just that, but when you do finally get like some okay internet, like, I mean, even like 5 or 10 Mbps, if not a ton of people are using it, you could stream some stuff or whatever. But like, then you log into Hulu and it's like, no, you can't use it because you're not, I don't know if it's just because you're out of America or if it's because Italy specifically, but like you can't watch anything. So you have to like VPN back to the States, and it's even slower.
Right.
And like, it's a whole thing.
Well, you know what the answer is. It depends. I do think there's inconsistent connections, and I think there's also inconsistent opinions of the connections, because I've asked a few different times about like how high speed. Oh yeah, totally high speed. Yeah, high speed, whatever. So here I'm at the Airbnb, and it's okay. It could be worse, could be better. It's about supposed to be 100 Mbps, but I also think it fluctuates quite a bit. So there's times where it's like
those are
rocking.
a maximum for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And times it's rocking, times where it's not. It's funny because it's like decent equipment and everything else, but you just never know. I found some like co-working spaces, and again, it's kind of like up or down, but there's a chain over here called Regus, Regus.
They have that here too.
Oh, okay. I've never been to one.
I've never been to one, but near me in Alexandria when we lived there, that was like an office building.
Ah, nice. So tried that here. Been a few days there. Tried their Wi-Fi and just plugged in. Was able to like hardwire in, and that was actually pretty decent. So I was pretty happy with that. If I was here on a permanent basis, that would be a great space. Pouring another, because that's how we fuck around.
Just drink it out of the bottle, Ken Wheeler style.
Yeah, I guess I could. Like, here you go. This for you, bro. He's our one listener. I don't know why.
He shows up in at least 2 of the new videos we have. The like trailers and intros and outros and stuff. Him drinking out of his Basil bottle.
Basil Hayden's his bitch bottle. That's fine. I'd tell him. So, yeah, I mean, it's hit and miss. Honestly, if I lived up here, I would just get Starlink, be done with it. Wouldn't mess with infrastructure.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's relatively consistent.
yeah, if you get the
good
RV
results with it.
version, right, you're able to like set your region too, which kind of solves your VPN problem. So, it's like two birds.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that being a problem because it's not like hard set.
Mm-hmm.
So Hulu is like, okay, if you change locations, you can do that 4 times a year or whatever.
Oh,
And so it'd be like, oh, you're in Chicago. And I'm like, actually, I'm in Virginia. But I was like, I don't care. I'll just say, okay, and like keep watching TV. And then that happens like 4 times in a week period. And then you're like, excuse me, my TV doesn't work because you're dumb. And Starlink hasn't moved. It just like, it uses different satellites. So it doesn't know where it's at.
that's not my problem. That's your problem, you know?
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
have a way to override it. It's a problem they know about. So like Hulu hard coded in, like you're in Virginia. And it's just always like that.
Oh, that's nice. Because
Yeah.
that wouldn't help you. So you still have Starlink now?
No, not anymore.
Did you sell it?
But I think it's still hard coded. So like it used to switch if you went to like California, it would bring up like the California news, but now it's just
sure.
always the Virginia news. Like,
Well, that's nice,
so,
though.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Did you get rid of it, or are you holding on to it just in case you move again?
I sold it. Well, I tried to sell it to a guy that my dad knew up at scout camp, and like they're in the middle of the woods and like needed some internet. But then he like quit his job, so like I never got money for it, but I don't have it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like a Robbie problem.
It's all right.
It's a bummer. But
I just
anyway,
counted
that
as a donation to the scouts.
Yeah, there you go. You should write it off. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think that would solve a lot of problems here. I mean, there's towns that have incredible infrastructure. There are towns that don't give a shit. You know, it is what it is. But I think
that'll
it's
solve a global problem if they can get Starlink right and like not produce insane amounts of space junk, but have it all work.
yeah,
You could just internet's done. We don't need to run wires anymore. Just everyone has
yeah.
satellites.
yeah, because we don't have cheap labor anymore, and cheap labor is what built the infrastructure of America because we're expansive.
America's far too big to ever do that again.
Yeah. And even other places, it's hard too. So it's like hit and miss here. Great experiences, bad experiences. Sometimes they put fiber in the middle of nowhere, and sometimes you can be in the middle of a city and you get shit. So it's hard to say. Even like bad cell service, in the middle of Milan, and all of a sudden I'm on 3G. I'm like, really?
Yeah. That's
So-
because that neighborhood was probably like, you're not putting a cell tower on our building.
Yeah, maybe. Beebity boobity bobbity. So my son is like regained interest in soccer while here, like seeing the stadiums and stuff, like seeing the stadium here in Como and all of that. And he's like, you know what? I actually like this. And I was playing some games because the Euros are going, Copa America is going. There's like big international tournaments. So he's like, yeah, I think I'm kind of interested in this again. So I'm like, cool, we're going to be in Milan. Let's go to the San Siro. Like that's actually the first place in Europe that I saw a match. And yes, we can't go see a match because it's the summer, but we can go and take a tour, and that'll be cool. It's a giant stadium, and you walk out and you see the pitch, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to blow his mind. So we book a tour and go, and then find out that they're setting up because it's the summertime. So, you know, they use the stadium for other things. Guess who's there touring? Yeah. So it was like a Thursday, and her concerts over the weekend, like 2 or something like that. I don't know. And so they're like letting us know we're going to still do the full stadium tour, but just like when we go inside, you can't take videos or pictures. There's something with Taylor Swift, like you just can't like document.
They said at the
the
Vatican
setup.
too, but you do it anyway.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, there was nothing to see there. It's not what I gave a fuck about. I wasn't there for her. So thinking like we're going to walk out and see this like amazing pitch, and
Yeah.
you know,
I imagine you get to walk on the field normally, but there's probably no field.
you
with
never get to
everything
walk in
on
the
it.
fields because
really?
the groundskeepers are fucking insane at all these places because
But
they put
let
all
you
this.
put a huge stage out there. I guess she pays enough money. That
Yeah,
it's
she pays enough
fine.
money, they can just start over. So anyway, yeah, and there was like this whole like metal floor and stage and all this bullshit, and it was like, well, I was really going for that nail at home moment for Aiden and my son, and nah, didn't work out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, so she ruined my day, and you know, I expect some sort of. She'll probably like refund our tour ticket.
Yeah.
It was like 86
Honestly,
euros.
I think if you sold the story the correct way and she somehow heard about it, she definitely would. But
It's probably true.
She's never going to
I mean,
hear this. So
No, she's never going to hear this. And the reality is yes, what you said is like, you know, her fans have come to. I'm not going to lie. I watched the documentary with my wife, and I was like, I have a newfound respect for her in the sense of she's such an artist involved in so many steps of her craft.
Produces and directs and
Yeah, you like the songs or not, like she's doing it. She's not a machine. Like I respect that. So yeah, I respect the
they
hustle around
changed
that.
like the VMAs. Like they do all awards constantly, but then there's like commercial breaks and you miss some.
Yeah.
And the ones you used to miss would be like directors and like because people care about the artists.
Yeah.
And now
yeah.
because Taylor Swift directs her own stuff, they do the director one like on because I know she's probably going to win that.
Right.
So,
So,
like,
they're like, that's a good thing. Yeah. Didn't Billie Eilish do some of that stuff too? Like she was
Probably.
involved with some production and another
does a lot
one
of stuff,
who's
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another one who's like a full on artist and almost like a Renaissance artist because you're like doing multimedia. So you're really kind of covering more. Once they invent helicopters though, you know, that's when they really get the awards.
Yeah.
So you were asking though, and I'm gonna address this. You were asking some about like shows and VPNs and all that kind of stuff because I have had my dance with that because I'm trying to watch The Acolyte and House of Dragons.
I haven't started the new season yet.
Of
I
which
just
one?
realized how bad
Oh,
the
of
glare
House
is
of
on these
Dragons.
glasses. I know we're like towards the end of the episode now, but
Yeah, they're bad. I would have told you later. I tried that one episode, so I know. Like, yeah, it doesn't work out. Unfortunately, still the rest of my face stays the same. But so let's see here. For Acolyte, I don't believe I've had any issues. Like that has actually just worked out, and I'm right here on my iPad. I can tell you, go on. Disney Plus doesn't really care. And they respect that you are a person
which is
who
interesting
travels.
because they own Hulu.
Hulu doesn't work. Disney Plus works. I know. Yeah. It's fucking a little weird. So it's like if I want to watch a new episode of The Acolyte, oh, well, Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, Taylor's version is available here. So I don't know if the catalog changes or whatever else, but I've been able to watch like the new ones. Not a problem. Now, Max and House of Dragons has been a pain in my fucking ass. So it's like, it was weird because when I first set up and then I was able to download an episode here and like for whatever reason, just the app didn't check or whatever, got that. And I came back to the next one. I was like, cool, new one's out. I want to watch it. And it was like, no, you can't do that. So I was like, cool, I'm going to get on a VPN. And it was like, looks like you're on a VPN and we don't support those. I was like, fuck you. So then I was like,
smarter.
I got smarter with the VPN because you can just like pick a general United States. But then I picked Phoenix and it was like, oh, you're back in Phoenix. Cool. We know that. And then it let me download. But like that was annoying. So yeah, I have a VPN. And when I got specific with my VPN, which tells me like in the future, I would just like, I need to put my own setup in Tucson before I was to move. Just so I can have like a more
like
permanent home base.
Go right back to your actual house.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm no longer going to be dealing with a service. Like now I'm using a service, but if it's just my own that I can tunnel into and do my stuff, like that's cool.
That's an option on Eero. There's like a little toggle to just like, I want to access my network from outside.
Okay. Well, in Tucson, we use the Eero. So
There you go. Just turn it on.
Done.
Speaking of done, we are
we
at the end
done?
of this episode.
Has this been
We're
an
at
hour?
An hour and 7 minutes.
Feels like you're annoyed with me and you don't want to talk anymore. I don't have any
No, I just
friends
don't want
here
it to
to
be
speak
too
English.
long because people will stop listening. Not that they listened that much to begin with, but
All right, fair enough. I can watch The Acolyte, I guess.
well, I mean, we can still hang out, just not on here anymore.
So just for everyone to know, this is the first time where I have been ahead of Robbie and forced him to record early. And it feels
Luckily,
nice.
it's a Friday because if we started
Yeah.
at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday, I would still have a lot of work to do. But I mean, fuck it, we're done for today.
That's what it feels like. It's like, I'm a little drunk. Can I do more? I don't know. I'm going to try.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of the folks that I've been working with are on the West Coast, so they'll probably be like, "Hey, you want to still do some work?" And I'll be like, "Nah,
No, I'm good. I'm on the East Coast, bro. It's Friday. Hey, you just go like this.
what is that?"
You can't even do it.
Which
It's a gang sign.
I can't tell which finger is.
It's gonna be white as fuck.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, so I'll show you. The middle finger is up and the index
Okay.
finger points. That helps.
God, my hand doesn't
getting-
work.
Can you do this?
Anyway. Yeah, that's easy.
Okay, I'm just checking. Okay. All right. Well, let's wrap it up for the listeners
Yeah. All right.
right here.
Thank you.
One of us has
one
a hit,
or two
I
listeners
think.
that are left with us here. We appreciate you listening to our babblings. Please tune in next time for hopefully some more structured content about tech things, possibly with guests, possibly not. I don't know what's going to be after this one, but we will see you then.
Boom, boom, boom.
You've been watching Whiskey Web and Whatnot, recorded in front of a live studio audience.
What the fuck are you talking about, Chuck?
Enjoyed the show? Subscribe.
You know people don't pay attention to these, right?
Head to whiskey.fun for merch and to join our Discord server.
I'm serious. It's like 2% of people who actually click these links.
And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and tell your friends about the show.
All right, dude, I'm out of here.
Still got it.